Good morning, everybody. Wow, off to an amazing start, apparently. Can't get my words out right. Happy second day of Hanukkah to all who celebrate. Already got some comments here in the chat. Rocky Rockenbach says, "Good morning from frozen Madison, Wisconsin. It's 11 degrees outside, very cold." I was actually talking about Madison, Wisconsin yesterday, trying to get my son, who has a year and a half left in high school, but just trying to convince him to go to, well, basically become a Badger. Because I love that area. Madison, Wisconsin is absolutely remarkable. So yes, love Madison. Ironic that you're one of the first in the chats because I was talking about it yesterday, folks. Being a little festive today, wearing my Christmas hoodie. Got my Gremlins down here. We got Gizmo. Gremlins, of course, one of the most underrated Christmas movies out there. Just wanted to say that, you don't see TBS running 24 hours of Gremlins. Instead, we're inundated by Home Alone and the Santa Claus, which the first one's good. The other two kind of crap. But I think Gremlins does not get enough love. It was one of my favorite movies as a child. Rewatching it now, I realize probably shouldn't have been watching it at like 2 and 3 years old, but I was. So anyway, I'm repping the Gremlins, one of the greatest Christmas movies out there as we approach the massive holiday. The super chat here, by the way, thank you so much. Hey, Farron, you hear about Alina? She don't have a job. Citizen Mooney. I love that. And yes, actually got a segment coming up a little bit later today about Alina Habba and how things are going for her, which is not very good. Of course, we had a very unpleasant weekend across the globe. Lots of horrible things happening. Just absolutely terrible. The difference, of course, is the response from the two countries. Australia has already gotten to work trying to, enact some form of gun control. United States, thoughts and prayers. It's all we ever do until the next one. Then our thoughts and prayers have to shift over to that one. Other countries, Australia is already taking action. New Zealand, many years ago, when they had a tragedy occur, immediately took action. United States, we don't do crap. We just let it keep happening because, God forbid, we get weapons of mass destruction off of our streets. At the same time, Republicans tell us our streets are overrun with criminals. Yeah. So you're just going to let them have whatever kind of gun they want and just hope that nothing happens, pray that nothing happens. Absolute, utter insanity. Anyway, again, absolutely horrible stuff. And on the football front, because I know people like to talk football in the chat sometimes, not a good football weekend either. If you're a Chiefs fan, Patrick Mahomes, of course, going down. The Chiefs not making it to the playoffs this year. Really unfortunate for anybody who's a Chiefs fan. I am a Packers fan. That was a tough loss yesterday, especially with Micah Parsons and Christian Watson going down, possibly for the rest of the season. So, yeah, overall, some things this weekend, obviously far worse than others, but nothing really positive to speak of. And speaking of things that are not positive, let's get into Donald Trump. Donald Trump, according to those closest to him, and I am talking about conservative influencers, White House insiders, and conservative pollsters, are now telling us that this guy, serving as president of the United States, not even a full year into his second term, but this guy, they say, has completely checked out. Just doesn't care about anything. He's doing his own thing. He's not listening to our advice. He's not helping people who can't afford groceries. He's making the economy worse, and he doesn't care. Now, the only thing shocking about that, of course, is that these insiders are shocked by it. Like, these people are genuinely so dumb, so aloof, that they're shocked that Donald Trump doesn't seem to care about other human beings. Who could have seen that coming, right? I mean, That's just crazy talk. Donald Trump only being selfish and focusing on his ballroom instead of Americans going hungry? Huh. Who'd have thunk it, right? But that's how these idiots are reacting, as if this isn't who Donald Trump has been for his entire life. But it is. Let me address Super Chat real quick. V-Man, thank you very much, says, funny thing, Puerto Rico has a butt ton of gun violence, yet zero school shooting. I think is a culture thing. Latinos are more community-oriented than USA. That absolutely could be part of it. You know, more of a community feel, stronger ties to the community. But in the United States, obviously, and Puerto Rico is, of course, a U.S. territory, we have to get them off the streets. We really genuinely have to have some form of gun control, which a majority of Americans actually support. We're not saying go around and take everybody's guns, knock on the doors and say, put your guns in the bag. But what we are saying is we don't need weapons that can fire off 60 rounds in 10 seconds. Nobody in this country needs that. And as long as we have these things happening, as long as we have these open concealed carry laws, these things are going to happen. Because we also have a mental health crisis in the United States that nobody in power wants to address. When you combine those two things, that is a recipe for disaster. Two things, that is a recipe for disaster. And that is what we see nonstop. So thank you for the super chat there. Let me go ahead, jump back into this because there are some quotes. The Washington Post reached out to these conservative insiders who actually recently had a luncheon with Donald Trump. And it was after this luncheon that they came back and they were like, yeah, this guy's checked out. He doesn't care about anything. Conservative pollster Mark Mitchell, I believe he's with Rasmussen, said, to the extent to which we were talking about the economic populism message, he wasn't as interested as I would have hoped. That's a lot of words to say we tried to get him to care about the economy and he doesn't. The Washington Post continued saying a growing chorus of faithful MAGA supporters have begun raising concerns over what they see as Trump's second-term shortcomings. Members of the president's base have accused him of prioritizing foreign affairs over domestic concerns, neglecting to address the cost of living crisis he pledged to resolve, developing too close ties with billionaires and tech executives, and, of course, resisting the release of investigative files related to Jeffrey Epstein. But it gets worse. Turning Point USA, Savannah Hernandez said, all we've really seen is punchy tweets, cool video edits. Very, very loose definition of the word cool, I guess. But really no follow through on any of the promises. And if he listened to his base and he was connected to us, even just through social media, you would see that the average person is still struggling to buy groceries, that the housing crisis is still on the mind of everybody, that inflation is still a really big issue. And when Americans see billions of dollars going overseas to any country, it really feels like a betrayal when we're struggling here at home. Yeah, welcome to conservative politics, you idiot. What did you think conservatives were going to do? I know you're Turning Point USA, so you're probably pretty young. You're not that knowledgeable about politics. All you know is right-wing propaganda. But do a little research outside of your conservative bubble. I mean, let's be real here, folks. There is nothing happening in Washington, D.C. today that hasn't happened under previous Republican administrations. I mean, maybe the political persecutions, right? Like Donald Trump weaponizing the DOJ, sure. But we did even see a little bit of that during George W. Bush's years. Karl Rove, Don Siegelman. Remember that stuff, folks? If not, go back and look it up. Like it did happen, just not to the degree that Trump has tried to do it. The economic turmoil. We've seen that with every president of the Republican Party in my lifetime. So I know we've seen it in the lifetime of these people at Turning Point. Like, why are they acting shocked by any of this? Like a Republican would be selfish. Oh my God. People can't afford things. Inflation's going up. We're heading towards a recession. You could literally say that at any point during either of Trump's terms, during the term of George W. Bush, the two terms of him, during George H.W. Bush's 1 term or during Reagan's 2 terms. And those are just the Republican presidents of my lifetime. But you could have said that statement at any given point in all of those administrations, and it would have been accurate. We're spending too much money on foreign things. Like Ronald Reagan and the Contras, right? Like George H.W. Bush in Iraq? Like George W. Bush in Iraq? I mean, it's the same story, just a different main character. This is what Republicans do. The only difference, of course, is that Trump is far more selfish and he is way more checked out. And I think a lot of that has to do with his physical health. I think a lot of it has to do with his mental health. The guy doesn't care because I think he does sense that he doesn't have much time left. You know, who cares about the economy? The economy is going to go up and down for eternity. But he wants some kind of legacy that will live after him. He wants to end these wars that he has no idea how to end. And he hasn't actually ended any. He wants a big ballroom with his name on it so that when he passes, hopefully a Republican is in office so that they will name it after him. That's what he wants. That's why he's doing it. The legacy part of it. He is done dealing with the right now. He is now dealing with the future. So he is checked out from the problems and concerns that affect regular, average, everyday Americans. And yes, that is different than what we saw with the previous Republican administrations that I mentioned, but the policies are basically the same. The economic destruction is the same. These folks don't ever do anything truly different from the Republican before them. It's cut the taxes on the wealthy elite, drive the country into recession, sometimes drive us into a housing market crash, but the stock market looks pretty good, so rich people are doing well, right? That's all that matters to them. And they repeat that cycle every time a new Republican gets in office. I mean, it's just becoming almost annoying to repeat that every time we talk about it. But it does still piss me off to a degree that these conservatives, who clearly know nothing about politics yet work in politics, are acting shocked that it's happening. The only thing shocking is that people as dumb as those who I quoted are shocked. That's the only shocking part of any of this. If they paid attention to politics, if they knew anything about the field in which they work, they would be like, oh, yeah, he's literally following the Republican blueprint to a T. I should have seen this coming. But, you know, we're talking about conservatives here. We're not talking about, Mensa members. We're not talking about Rhodes Scholars. We're talking about people who get paid to push propaganda to people even dumber than they are. So they don't have to do research. They don't have to look at statistics. They don't have to look at trends. They don't have to know their history. They just get out there, say whatever the hell they want to do, and cash much bigger checks than any of us on the left could ever imagine cashing. So it's a very lucrative industry to tell stupid people what they want to hear. Another super chat here from V-Man says, conservatives can't govern their way out of a bag. And I could not agree with that statement more. They don't know what they're doing. And when it comes to making sure that rich people get richer, nobody's better at it. Let's give them credit for that. They do know that. But literally all of the rest of governing, they suck so badly at it. Let's go to a few more comments here. Don't forget the Trump arch that he wants built near the cemetery, like the arch in Paris. It's all about him and the arch, the ballroom, all that. Yeah, this guy wants his name on everything because that is the only thing that is going to outlive him, or so he thinks. Because all it takes is somebody else coming into power and the stroke of a pen ripping his name off of it. So he may think that's going to do it, but in reality, if the next person's a Democrat, his name's coming off everything, which is hilarious to me that he doesn't realize that. I don't know if I'd trust him with crayons. I like the Gremlin hoodie and the winter theme. Good of you, Farron. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Another one says, oh my God, cute hoodie. I love it. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I like it too. I've now worn it to 2 separate Christmas parties, one this year, one the year before. And I don't even remember where I got it. I think I saw it from one of those, chintzy little ads on social media that was probably a little sketchy. Maybe I shouldn't have ordered, but I did. It turned out great, and I love it. And I'm going to, maybe I'll make some more appearances over the next week and a half while I can, right? Another super chat here. Thank you very much. Says, keep up the good work, Farron. Hi from Denmark. Hello, Denmark. Always good to see you. Seems like we've always got at least 1 or 2 from Denmark in the chat. Always wonderful to see there. Are you related to Kirk Cousins? Says Grumpy Cat. No, definitely not. Kirk Cousins is an idiot. I do not like Kirk Cousins. So no, I'm not related to him. V-Man, another super chat. Thank you. Says the only right winger in the United States polling worse than Trump is Puerto Rico's MAGA governor is now polling at 10.9% approval, 64% disapproval. Wow, that is crazy. 10.9% approval. Yeah. Hockey player Cousins. No, I'm not related to them either. I'm not related to anybody famous or anything like that. No athletes, no nothing. But it is nice to see people out there repping the Cousins name. And if Kirk Cousins wasn't a complete piece of garbage, both as a person and a player, I would probably have a Cousins jersey because it's fitting. But it is what it is. Although the Falcons did beat the Buccaneers last Thursday, which blew my mind. Anyway, let's move on. I got another story here because this one's weird. So yesterday, they do this event at the White House. It's supposed to be a Christmas event. Like they're kind of kicking off their real Christmas season now. So Trump goes to the podium. He's supposed to deliver, I guess, a Christmas message. Happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. It was the first day of Hanukkah, so maybe even a Hanukkah acknowledgement. But no. Trump got up on the podium and started ranting about snakes because, Christmas, you think of snakes. No, the whole thing was basically a showcase in what to look for in somebody who has dementia. So Trump gets up there, starts ranting about snakes. He says this is a part of it. Peru is known to be a rather tough place in terms of physical creatures crawling around. 28,000 people die a year from a snake bite, a certain snake. It's a viper. It's said to be the most poisonous snake in the world. Venomous, not poisonous. If it bites you and you die, it's venomous. If you bite it and you die, it's poisonous. It's the best way to remember that. But also, no, 28,000 people a year do not die from snake bites in Peru. The real number is less than a tenth of that. Globally, it's estimated 81,000 to 138,000 people die a year from snake bites. So his number is just not even close to any reality. It's also not related to Christmas in any way. It's not like everybody has the tradition of the Christmas snake and it made Trump think of snakes. I don't see the connection here. You decorated for Christmas. You're trying to get everybody in the holiday spirit. But you're talking about snakes. But don't worry, he didn't talk about snakes forever, folks, because he actually interrupted his nonsensical rant about snakes to talk about how much he wants to screw his daughter. In fact, here's what he said. He saw a woman in the crowd that he thought actually was his daughter. He's like, boy, you look like Ivanka. Has anyone ever told you that? I'm looking and saying, is that Ivanka? Can you just turn around for the camera? Doesn't she look like Ivanka? It's the most unbelievable thing. You look just like Ivanka, which is a great compliment, actually. Okay, so I would rather hear you rant about snakes incorrectly than lust over your own daughter at a Christmas celebration. But that's what we get. He interrupted his own rant about snakes to remind people that he wishes he could do his daughter. The President of the United States, folks, who totally doesn't have dementia. I mean, we heard for 4 years Republicans tell us creepy Joe Biden. Look, oh, he's so creepy, so you can't trust him around kids. Um, he never did anything close to that. All right. He never interrupted his own non sequitur to go into a third non sequitur about how much he wants to do his own kids. Okay. We never had that. That's not a thing that ever happened. Thank God. And then I love it. It's almost like like an infomercial every time talking about this guy, because there's always, but wait, there's more. So then he goes on a rant about how the 2024 and 2020 elections were stolen from him. Yeah, you heard that right. The 2024 election that he won was still somehow stolen from him. He said that he actually won the state of California in 2024. But, the Democrats and their shenanigans, which he didn't identify, there's just some shenanigans somewhere, somehow, that caused him to lose California in 2024, even though he won it. But again, he totally doesn't have dementia. And there's nothing wrong with his brain. He is in peak optimal physical health, we are told repeatedly by people like Caroline Leavitt, who seems to be thirsting after him the way he is after his own daughter. So it's a whole big gross thing happening inside of this administration. They're living in denial. Trump is living in dementia land. And that's what we got on Sunday. Oh, and by the way, he also did promise us that he is going to release a massive treasure trove of evidence proving to us once and for all that the 2020 election was stolen, which technically, I guess if you were able to do that, would negate the 2024 election and you wouldn't be allowed to be president anymore. So, hey, if you've got it, show us, right? I mean, we would kind of love that, because then you would be technically illegally serving as president of the United States and you would end up being removed. So, in your court, Donnie, if you want to end your second term, go ahead. Not that you could, because of course you're lying your stupid orange face off, but that's a thing. Another super chat here from V-Man. She's literally Puerto Rican Trump down to her junk food obsession, except her junk food is Krispy Kreme donuts. Somebody literally during the government race had Krispy Kreme ads run after her political. That's funny. Yeah, I'm not too well versed in Puerto Rico. So I got to be honest. That's not my wheelhouse, unfortunately. I do appreciate the info on it, but it's not something I can talk super knowledgeably about. Here's a question here from Samson Ward. Says, then that would make Kamala Harris president, right? Well, technically, I believe it would actually make JD Vance president. I mean, it's uncharted waters. Maybe they would have to say like, oh, okay, we actually have to redo the election. So I don't know. But if he does prove that he did, in fact, get elected president in 2020, obviously the Constitution says no person can be elected more than twice. It doesn't say serve, it says elected. And that's the key word that, of course, if he is able to prove that, then great, pack your crap, you have to go. You may not have gotten the second term, but it's now in violation of the Constitution because the word is elected, not served. So you're toast. It won't ever happen, by the way, because he didn't win the 2020 election. It's just hilarious to think about. Question here from Keith Egan says, do you think Drowsy Dementia Donnie will make it to the first anniversary of his current failed administration? Yeah. I mean, I do think he will. I mean, I think he's going to make it at least another, I'll give him 2 years. I really think 2 years. But I think after this coming year, we're going to see a man who cannot function. I'm sure everybody saw the AI generated photos the other day, right over the weekend, of him walking with a walker, right? It wasn't real. It was fake. But the fact that everybody saw it and wasn't totally shocked by it, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, we're already all at that point. Because people saw it and people shared it thinking, of course, it was real. I did not. That's not even the kind of thing I would typically do, but he wouldn't have allowed himself to be photographed like that, by the way. So it was kind of silly and reckless for people to be sharing that, assuming it was real. But anyway, the fact that everybody did just automatically believe it shows where we all think Trump is physically and mentally. So I think that's the big takeaway from that. We're all kind of expecting it. We're expecting this, mental downfall, and we're already seeing it in motion. But there will come a point, and it is almost like this instantaneous thing that happens where he's just no longer recognizable. And I mean mentally. He's not going to be able to function. He's not going to be able to get through any kind of Q&A with reporters. And I think we're rapidly approaching that. I give him one more year before he really hits that point where he cannot make sense at all. Because he can be coherent at times, right? He can still talk to people. He can talk to reporters. He doesn't do it well, but he can physically do it. I don't think he has more than a year left of being able to do it, though. I really don't. And at that point, it's going to be totally undeniable. And this administration should be investigated for their cover-up of it. Because everybody can see it. The mental health professionals can see it. We know what's happening. They're the only ones that are trying to tell us it's not real. The other conservatives who do know that it's real still try to counter that by saying, well, what about Biden? He's not the president anymore. And for the record, I talked about it many, many times throughout the entirety of the Biden administration. So there you go. Now what? Biden has cognitively declined. Okay, yeah. He's not in office anymore, so it's not our problem. We can't go back in time and force him out of office sooner. So that's not apples to apples here, but we're approaching it. And again, I give it a year. Maybe it won't even take that long due to the stress he's going to be facing next year with the midterms and the shellacking that Republicans are going to take. It's going to be pretty rough here. So here. If you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. And, super chat here. Watch, they pull an Arkham City moment where they use a stunt double to show that Trump truly did get well, but really he's fading behind the scenes. They could try to pull some crap like that. They could put together AI generated, addresses that he does. But it'll be hilarious not to see a person mentally crumble before our eyes. That's, let's be human. But the cover up is going to be hilarious. Like watching how they react to it and how they're like, no, this is, people always pee their pants on stage. Like, do you not? That's weird. That's going to be the funniest part of it. But again, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I do appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been a great Monday morning, aside from my little bit of a rocky start on this one. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. Make sure you're sharing these videos, not just these live streams, but all the rest of the videos going up throughout the day. Share them widely. Let's get more people hooked on Fair and Balanced. And if you want to follow me across social media, open up any platform, search for @FairandBalanced. It's going to bring you right to me. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, and of course, Blue Sky @FairandBalanced. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. I will see you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, stay tuned for all of the wonderful videos coming up throughout the rest of the day. Thanks a lot, guys.